Why do you close your eyes?
Steffi, that's a very lovely scarf you're wearing.
Pardon me?
It's a very lovely scarf you're wearing.
They are my hair extensions. Okay.
I'll say. Can you use them for suspenders?
Yes, like turn them upside down. Okay. I can make a brooch and a hat
And a flying
And a
pterodactyl.
pterodactyl.
and a pterodactyl.
And you now come with extra table leaves so you can extend yourself.
Yeah.
So Charlie, what is your
Hey,
take?
if you guys can talk about lesbian smooching for an hour,
Only
I can
as
talk
it repulses to Juliana Margulies. Okay, hey, Charlie, what is your take on this, on where we are with the January 6th? You wrote a piece called "This is Called Contempt of Congress."
Right.
So where do you think we are in this process? We were saying that, Jody was saying that, you have to wait for them, when they were supposed to testify. So this would be next week if we are going to. I mean, what happens? What do you think is happening with criminal referrals or not?
I didn't quite hear who it was that was saying this in the previous segment. That there's something underground going on at the Justice Department,
right?
That we don't know about,
right?
That Adam Schiff is out. Adam Schiff is out there really throwing his hat over the wall.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't do that unless he knew something.
Exactly.
Thank you. But, you just were talking about the executive privilege thing, and you said, can I use this to get out of parking tickets? After all, I'm just as much president right now as Trump is. What we have here is a private citizen demanding privileges he doesn't have anymore, so as to monkey wrench a congressional investigation into his own conduct. What we have is contempt of Congress, at least. Yeah, at least. And he put it in writing, telling people not to cooperate, right?
Well, that was Trump. But I mean, if the first domino to fall is Steve Bannon of the last heir of the House of Harkonnen, that Chris got that one. There we go.
Yeah, I read the book.
I know. And there's a new movie coming out. No, if he's the first domino, I'm perfectly happy with that because he doesn't have an inch of ground to stand on.
Yeah.
Legally.
Speaking of, I think it was Adam Kinzinger we were talking about. Give me 12. I want to get your reaction to this on the other side. Adam Kinzinger yesterday.
Leaders have got to stand up and tell people the truth. So if you don't trust the media and you don't trust anything and you're inundated with sources of information, you're going to look at somebody that stands in front of you and talks. And if you trust them at heart, you're going to believe them. And when you have Steve Scalise say, not answer whether or not, Joe Biden was legitimately elected, or you have, Kevin McCarthy make it clear that Donald Trump caused January 6th and then put the paddles on him in Mar-a-Lago and resurrect him politically, it's no wonder 70% of the base believes the election was stolen.
Yeah, but that's where we are. 70% of the base believes the election was stolen.
I did not understand a single thing he said. I don't know what Adam Kinzinger is talking about there.
Well, he was talking about when Steve Scalise.
He's all over the map. When the simple fact is, and I think we've said this on the show, I don't even know how many times since 2016. Donald Trump is not the disease; he's the symptom.
Yep. Yeah.
And he is the ultimate culmination of 40 years of Republican politics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was saying
unless you see him in that context.
Yeah, I was saying that yesterday.
Accept your own responsibility, if you happen to have any, for building what produced him. We're not going to get anywhere.
Well, that's what I was saying when you listen to these people at Trump rallies, Charlie, that they want to believe this lie. They want to believe that this couldn't possibly be a country where there are more of us than them. They want to believe that there's no way Donald Trump could have lost.
They have no immediate evidence in their lives that there are more of us than there are of them, because they're in a bubble and they don't see anyone.
Right. Yeah, they're no one I know voted for Biden. He couldn't possibly have won.
Right. And I mean, people laugh about that whole, Pauline Kael line about not knowing anybody who voted for Nixon.
Yeah.
There are far more people out there marinating in 8 hours of talk radio and then 4 hours of Fox TV who don't know anybody who voted for Biden than there are New York people who don't know anybody who voted for Trump. I guarantee you there are a lot of people in New York who know people who voted for Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of people in New York who've testified against him, for that matter. I mean, but the '60s, all the turmoil happened in a straight line. I mean, you knew what you knew what the issues were, and people sort of, many of the people involved, not most of the people involved, moved from one step to another toward that goal. They didn't decide that we were in Vietnam looking for space aliens, or the civil rights movement was led by Hungarian billionaires.
Well, this goes, Charlie, I wanted to get your take on this piece everyone's talking about. We mentioned yesterday David Shores telling Democrats things they don't want to hear, that whole, and, Chris and Jody got into an interesting conversation, right, about coal miners when I was on vacation about, I mean, I'm torn between, like, is it that the way we talk to coal miners, or people that believe Chinese thermostats change the votes? Does it matter how we talk to coal miners?
Like, what? The Chinese thermostats is the best one.
Right. But
that's
as I'm
even
saying
better than the satellite.
Right.
And the Italian, whatever voting machines. I think the problem with your hypothetical coal miner is not that we talk to them one way. It's that people tell them we're talking to them that way.
Right.
Meanwhile, they're getting their pockets picked, while they're getting angry at, people in, New York or Boston who they'll never come into contact with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, for instance, you wrote a great piece, as you do. Chuck Schumer got mad and made Senate Republicans and Joe Manchin very mad. We played the audio yesterday. I'm like, really? This was
mellow,
some unhinged lunatic, whatever.
First of all, it wasn't that harsh. Second of all, it was all true.
Right.
Yes. Hey, thank you. You just said, he said we pulled ourselves back from the cliff's edge that Republicans tried to push us over. You said, oh, this got up everybody's nose. Democrats are not supposed to wield that kind of rhetorical weaponry. And you said nobody was more verklempt than Joe Manchin, who simply couldn't shut up about how terribly Schumer had behaved toward the cooperative Republicans. He reportedly told Schumer his speech was stupid. Mitt Romney said it was a time to be graceful. And you said, oh, Willard, Schumer was supposed to thank you for not demolishing the national economy for a cheap political win. Your caucus tolerates the graceful rhetoric of Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, and Marsha Blackburn, and the like. Shut your pie hole.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie. I mean, it's just, that's the thing. We want Democrats to fight. And then everyone's, oh, God, that was rude. I mean,
it wasn't. It really wasn't.
Right.
I mean, it was direct.
Yeah.
And there was an undertone of frustrated anger, as there should be. But he wasn't insulting anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's completely, and I mean, I think a lot of the reaction was that it came from Chuck Schumer.
Yeah.
Who doesn't talk like that? I mean, if it had come from Elizabeth Warren or Bernie or Sherrod Brown, then I think there would have been less of an impact to it.
Yeah.
But this is, Wall Street Chuck Schumer.
Yeah. John Aravosis argued yesterday that Biden needs to be more of a D. It's when he says something like, yes, Facebook's killing people, then he has to walk it back. And again, it's just the different rules for Republicans and Democrats, right?
You're absolutely right. And, we got another example of that today when we were watching Thom Cotton try to rehabilitate himself.
I just said that, Charlie. What is your take on? I was saying I'm sick of these. I don't know who's trying to rehabilitate who, but everybody is like, oh, Thom Cotton was the hero now.
What Thom Cotton's doing, Thom Cotton wants to beat Trump without being Trump.
Yeah,
clearing the decks.
They all want it all ways.
He's turning against Trump not because he disagrees with him, but because Trump is competition. If Trump falls or keels over, or his, coronary arteries turn into Vienna sausage, then Thom Cotton will gladly become the heir to his base.
Right.
And Thom Cotton is dangerous because he's not stupid.
Right. Yeah. According to Stormy Daniels, the Vienna sausage is a little lower, but okay.
Oh.
Lower and mushroominger.
We had to go there.
We
had to go to.
We did.
Well,
you brought up the Vienna sausage. We brought up
Have you
Vienna
not
sausage.
listened to the show before?
Huh?
Oh, you froze.
I mean, have you seen one in a while? They don't look like Vienna sausages.
Oh, that's true. I haven't seen one in quite some time. Okay. Charlie, as we've mentioned, you are both a girl watcher.
Or anything else, if I'm if I'm listening to the show correctly.
Yeah.
You are both a girl watcher and a Supreme Court watcher. Want to get your take on Ellie, our friend Ellie.
Watching judges go by.
Yeah.
I want to get your take on our friend Ellie Mistal, who wrote, Robert's ambition is to keep the law as narrow as possible and keep as much of the court's legitimacy as possible while twirling ever toward the Republican agenda. Brett Kavanaugh likes beer. Amy Coney Barrett likes Jesus. These are fundamentally narrow positions. Gorsuch wants to fundamentally change the law and reframe the way we think about the law. Neil Gorsuch wants to do horrible things but ambitious things. He's got the intellectual tools to accomplish it. That's kind of terrifying, is who's the worst as we start this new term. Another expert said Clarence Thomas will emerge as the most powerful member of the court, which is also terrifying. He says Robert's only marginally in charge to the extent he can bring Kavanaugh or Barrett with him. I think we're living in Justice Thomas's world. He's always thinking ahead several steps and has built an army of supporters, which particularly aggravates me in watching Anita Hill on the anniversary of that whole the fact that he should not be on the court, nor should Brett Kavanaugh.
With Ellie, by the way, at all. I think Thomas has found his moment.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. The other, except for Alito, who's just useless.
Just disgrace.
A lot of these guys have these very strange enthusiasms that give them cover. Neil Gorsuch is really good on Native American issues.
Yeah.
Nobody knows why. I mean, he grew up in Colorado. Maybe that's it. Roberts really cares only about, Roberts is only an ideologue on two issues: voting rights and corporate power. Two very important issues.
Yeah.
I'm not denying that. But he will bend on other things. I don't think he wants to be the Chief Justice under which Roe gets reversed.
Well, I was going to say, boy, 2022.
Happy to see it whittled away in 1,000 cuts.
2022, Charlie, if you thought the Women's March, we were pissed. If this Texas law and then Mississippi happens, it is just, I guess it's horrible news, but man, horrible news that's going to mobilize every woman I know, right?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. I think, cities will erupt.
Yeah.
We'll see how long the outrage lasts when suburban women realize they can, probably go get an abortion anytime they want because they're wealthy. But it's just, it's such a level of contempt for not only for your favorite Latin phrase and mine, stare decisis,
ipso facto.
I would not rely on, by the way, because it hasn't meant very much to these people yet.
True.
That's true.
Yeah.
Ask yourself two questions. Is my participation in democracy important only every couple of years? And why does the filibuster still exist? Well, the answers to both are up to you. Democracy is a continuous process, and if you don't voice your priorities, your voice will not be heard. The filibuster? Its supporters say it exists to promote debate. It does not. It promotes massive gridlock. Ever since your school days, you were involved in elections where the majority vote prevailed. Why isn't that true of every vote that occurs? Why isn't that true in the U.S. Senate? There, the filibuster rules, and that's why nothing gets done. Let's tell our senators, we want you to discuss the issues, debate them, and then let the majority rule. Please visit letmajorityrule.org to learn more. That's letmajorityrule.org. LetMajorityRule.org is a project of the Marvin Lucas Super PAC, which is responsible for and paid for this ad and is not affiliated with or authorized by any political campaign or candidate or candidates committee.